Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Soufrière today, where we continue to give updates on the ongoing eruption of Soufrière volcano in St. Vincent. With me today are Dr. Erouscilla Joseph, who we commonly refer to as Pat, the director of the Seismic Research Center, and Dr. Karen Pascal, who is a volcanologist at the Montserrat Volcano Observatory. Welcome, Pat and Karen. Morning. How are you?
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Great. It's good to have you here. I just kind of wanted to start, as we usually do, by asking what is the latest with the volcano? What is the latest with Soufrière?
So activity remains low level at the since the ending of the last explosive eruption on the 22nd of April. We continue to see minimal or if any ground deformation. There is a very low level seismic activity, and the gassing is kind of an average. It's going down very slowly. It's now a little over 450 tons per day on average.
Okay, so we're talking about relatively low levels of activity and all the different monitoring techniques that we use. And with this low level of activity, I'm sure people are asking, we're still at alert level orange. Are the scientists planning to recommend to civil authorities that the alert level be reduced?
So for listeners and our viewers, the alert level is set. So we recommend, we make our recommendations based on the science, but it's also based on the necessary actions by the civil authorities in terms of where the alert level sits. So while the activity may be at a yellow, in terms of the actions that are necessary by the civil authorities to allow reoccupation in certain areas that should be open with the change in alert level to yellow, this is still ongoing because of the recovery efforts and the rebuilding that's necessary to allow people to move back into those areas, particularly because the houses would have been affected by lahars and ash, and there are certain areas that really would be unsafe for reoccupation. So there is an ongoing effort is being led by the planning division, Ms. Hull, and we are collaborating. Actually, Prof. Robertson is representing SRC in that effort to try to demarcate areas that are would be at a potential high risk for lahars, so that it is clear once the alert level is lowered and people are allowed back into these areas where it will not be permitted to rebuild. So while that is ongoing and the effort I know is kind of fast-paced to try to get people out of the shelters, those who are remaining there, the authorities prefer to leave the alert level at an orange until these recommendations and actions could be firmed up.
And that makes complete sense, that we have to prepare and put things in place before people actually move back into certain areas and certain actions continue. I want to talk a little bit about the monitoring network, because I know that Lloyd and Pico left last week and there's a considerable amount of work being done. But before we get to that, let me ask Karen to talk a bit about the work that you've been doing in St. Vincent. I know that you're based at Montserrat, and SRC scientists based at Montserrat. So can you tell us what you've been doing in St. Vincent?
So at the Montserrat Volcano Observatory, I'm specialist in volcano deformation monitoring. So basically that's what I've been doing here. In particular, we've been setting up new sites for what we call survey sites for GPS stations. So that allows us to have like a better understanding of the deformation field of the volcano. Deformation of the volcano tells us is basically the movement of in particular the movement of the magma in the subsurface. So that's how it helps us to monitor what's going on in the volcano. And I've also been helping with taking the gas, so the SO2 measurements. So I've assisted Miss Lianka Henry, who's working here at the Soufrière monitoring unit, which is part of NEMO. So we've been doing these measurements together and with different instruments. So that helps us to have a better idea of what error is, we have to associate with the values that we get, for instance. That's basically about it.
Yeah, so it's basically just as we continue to monitor the eruption, monitor the volcano, and rebuilding the network. So those are two techniques that we would have been using, the ground deformation and monitoring of gas, which are both very important. And so, Pat, maybe you could talk a bit about the work that's been done to rebuild the seismic network over the last, I guess, 5 weeks or so or more.
Sure. So just in summary, the previous team was led by Mr. Lloyd Lynch, instrumentation engineer at SRC, and included Mr. Barry Williams from the Montserrat Volcano Observatory. And they worked over the last roughly 2 months to reinstall or restore some of our network capacity that was lost after the explosion. So they've established 3 new seismic station at Fitzhugh, Greg's Mountains, and Upper Waterloo. So we now have 7 stations streaming directly into Trinidad. One is still, so an 8th station, we still need to get the telemetry link sorted out with the assistance of the SMU. And they've installed a tilt meter at Richmond. And then this is also to help with ground deformation monitoring on the flanks of the volcano. So this is so the network is almost at full strength. They've also completed the major work on the restoration of a summit station, but this also needs to be completed with respect to tying it into the network, because there was not enough time to do that during the week of the support for the helicopter.
Okay, and so just to give a little perspective, you're saying that we're almost back to full strength. So when Lloyd and his team arrived, how many stations did we have working as compared to now, just to kind of give people an idea, just
7
roughly?
-3 is 4. We have 4 seismic stations operating. Now we have 8 essentially, but 7 streaming in, plus an additional 9th, which would be the summit station once that is sorted. So we're really, plus a tilt meter.
Right, so we're really, kind of more or less, as you say, almost back to full strength as we continue to monitor the volcano. And again, if we can just remind what the main hazards might be at this stage of the eruption.
So the main ongoing hazard post-eruption is associated with lahars, and especially with periods of heavy rainfall in the valleys on the western and eastern flanks of the volcano. So that's really what the ongoing hazard would be, and it is likely to go on for months, if not longer.
Yes, and I know that NEMO would be doing its work in terms of educating people on staying away from certain areas, especially during periods of heavy rainfall, rivers and valleys and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Pat and Karen, for the update. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Yes, you'll still be there in 2 weeks. Yes, you'll still be there in 2 weeks. Pat is current scientific team lead, and we would like to remind our viewers that the NEMO and the UESRC are the official sources of information on the eruption at La Soufrière, and that visits to the summit are prohibited at this time. Thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you.